Hi folks, I don't know if you saw my last video stripping one of these Traxxas 3.3 carburetors apart. I've done quite a lot of pre-assembly, but I'll run through what I've done because some of it's really fiddly. So clean the carb thoroughly. In the new carb rebuild kit you get these brass tubes. These help you put on new O-rings. The O-rings are in some instances very small, 2 by 1 millimeters. These are not in great shape, to be brutally honest. So there is 2 O-rings on the low speed needle, there's 1 O-ring on the high speed needle, and there's 1 O-ring on the idle adjustment screw. The rubber boot on the old carb, really brittle, just pulls apart, whereas the new rubber boot is very supple, and there's an O-ring here. So it looks like I've got a few spare O-rings here. One of these is for this part here. There will be some O-rings no doubt for the engine. So this is an engine that I've stripped apart, so some of these will fit in here. I'm 99% sure that, you know, some of these are going to be that O-ring in there. There's also an O-ring on the 3.3 at the bottom where the carb sits, because air or any sort of air leak within a nitro engine is quite bad. These are prone for leaking on the front bearing. It's quite easy to change out bearings on these. If you want me to do a video on how to do that, I'm quite happy to do that. No problem at all if it helps anybody out. I did notice when I took the high speed needle assembly apart, there was 2 crush washers. Well, it should have been 2 crush washers. This is one of the crush washers, so it's made of metal, but the other one is PTFE. Now Traxxas use these a lot on their cars. They use them, let me think. So on the front of the clutch bell assembly, there's normally one of these. You can buy quite a few in a kit. There's obviously, I've changed the O-rings out on these dead ends or stops that don't do anything for the carb. I guess it's just part of the manufacturing process. I'm going to set the idle gap. As I said in the previous video, I think Traxxas recommend 0.7 of a millimeter, which is about standard. And as I said in the previous video, about a standard paperclip is about 0.7 of a mil. What I've done, because I want to know my idle gap, because I've seen quite a few YouTube videos to say how important it is, I've bought a cheap set of feeler gauges and I've ground the end down to a fine point so I can measure the gap. The rubber boot, underneath here there's a spring. That was quite fiddly to get in. I've got a set of cheap magnifying glasses with a light on. That helped me with a very small flat screwdriver. I chopped the old O-rings off with a blade, like a hobby blade, but I used them to set a long nose pliers to hold on to each needle so I didn't cut my fingers. The boot is a little bit tricky to put on. I found it's best to just try and work it over. It's just popped straight on. If you want, like say, another video on how to rebuild one of these, the reason why this is stripped apart, which I'll quickly go through. So obviously you've got your crank which goes in there, and if you've never seen in here, you've got a gap in the crank, which obviously, and there's a hole through the middle of the crank. This is your sleeve, which you have to buy as a complete kit because the sleeve is matched to the piston, but the back of my piston's given way. So I was running my Revo and it stopped, and then when I tried to turn it over I realised I couldn't, thought something was wrong, so that ended play for the day. It's because I've lost part of the bottom of the piston skirt. I'm going to try and Dremel this a bit more. It'll probably still be good to go. I mean, the top of the piston looks fine, to be brutally honest, but yeah, it's just one of those things. These are really expensive to buy in the UK, because anybody across in America, because I know Traxxas is an American brand even, sorry. Yeah, it's really expensive to buy these parts, to be honest. I try and find either a second-hand engine. I mean, it's got a little bit of pinch, but not a great deal of pinch, but it'll still run. Might be good for a couple of tanks before it decides to completely let itself go. I run a Revo 3.3. I've got a Revo that I built 7 years ago that I put a Pico Max 26 engine in. That still runs really strong. I've recently been spending quite a lot of time on trying to tune both of them, because I've not, even though I've been into RC since I was, well, blimey, let me think how many years, a lot of years now. So I'm going to be 50 this year, and I've been into RC since I was 13. I really do like my nitro. I've got a couple of electric cars. I've got quite an old Kyosho vanning, which I've posted a video on. But yeah, if you want any advice or tips or general engineering tips on how to do any of this, then leave a comment and I'll try and help you out. Hope you all have a nice evening, and take care, and all the best. Bye.